All right, let's go over a hybrid training checklist. If you are into this training or looking to get into this training, what does the science say and what does my experience say as someone who's been doing concurrent training for a very long time about what you should be looking at and for in programs that are claiming to be hybrid in nature? This is the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm Jerred Moon, and I'm going to do two things. First, I'm going to quickly go over kind of what I think you should be looking at in terms of goals, setting goals for a hybrid program, just in my experience for myself and working with a lot of athletes. And then I'll go over kind of a systematic review, a checklist on concurrent training. So concurrent training and hybrid training are one and the same. They're just two different terms for basically the same thing. And so I'll go over a systematic review that covered all of these things. So first, you need to know if you're shooting for athleticism or aesthetics. And you might be thinking that they're the same thing, but they're not necessarily the same thing. Because aesthetics means how you look. You can look really good, but not be very athletic. I mean, that's a bodybuilder, right? Like a bodybuilder looks great, but they're not very athletic. And athletes normally look pretty good, but sometimes they don't look as cut or as lean as like a bodybuilder. So you kind of have to know what you're getting into. Are you more aesthetics? So will you be following a bodybuilding style split in your hybrid athlete training with like running, or is it athleticism? So there's a lot of power-based movement, strength-based movements trying to get you stronger, plyometrics, things of those natures. That would be more of an athleticism style hybrid or concurrent training program. So know which one you're getting into. So if you see more bodybuilding, just know you're not necessarily becoming this badass athlete. That's more I want to look good and be able to perform somewhat in my endurance. Nothing wrong with either. Okay, just making sure you know which one's which. And kind of the subcategory that is strength or hypertrophy, just really pay attention to sets and reps. So if it's hypertrophy, you'd be, a lot of isolation exercises, moderate to higher repetitions. And then strength is going to be heavy loads, right? Heavy to moderate loads. Typically, you'll be operating off of some percentage of your 1 rep max. And that's a big indicator in the difference for me right there. So if I was following a bodybuilding program and a strength program, or if I saw each, and a bodybuilder had programmed the squats and a powerlifter had programmed the squats, what I'd probably see the bodybuilder do is the bodybuilder would be like, yeah, hit 3 sets of 10 on the back squat and make it challenging. The powerlifter would be like 3 sets of 8 at 70% of your 1 rep max. You see how that's just different. That's just different way of operating and programming, because the bodybuilder only cares about a certain stimulus and the powerlifter is going to care about a certain strength level and power output. Another big thing to look out for is the programming. Is it monkey see, monkey do? I say avoid these programs at all costs. So monkey see, monkey do program is someone who's generally incredibly fit and they look really good. And then they're like, hey, here's what I do. And they put their programming out online and they say, you can follow it too for a nominal fee per month. That's great, but you're not them. And they're not taking into account any of your needs or even general training principles and foundations. What they're doing is what's worked for them. So it's, in my opinion, when people put out programs like that, it's great to study and learn from because they've obviously achieved a lot, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a great program for you to follow because your starting point could be completely different. And typically, these people have a huge base of some other dose of training. Like they were a runner before and then they added strength training, or they were a huge strength athlete, then they started running. And so they have this like phenomenal base that they don't really tell you about. They just tell you what they're doing now. And that doesn't help you achieve your goals any faster. And then lastly, make sure that the program itself is following scientific concurrent training based principles. So I'm going to go over those real fast here. And so these are straight from a systematic review, several different studies I pulled here. So if you want to see them, you're like, put your money where your mouth is. Where's this study? Where are all these systematic reviews you're talking about? Go to garagegymathlete.com, go to the blog, check out the show notes, and you can click on the links for any of these. So the first thing is training goals. Clearly define whether your primary goal is to improve strength or endurance or both, and know which one you want to improve most, because the order of exercise matters. If you are if strength gains are your priority, then you want to perform strength exercises before endurance training, if it's in the same session. And that is to maximize lower body strength gains specifically. Now, if endurance is the primary goal, the science says that order may be less important, but you want to ensure that there's a balance to avoid fatigue buildup. Because I know I kind of say always do strength first, unless you're like training specifically for like a half marathon, something like that, then maybe do your endurance first or split the days. Because I think if you were to go run 7 miles, 15 miles today or whatever, and then come back and then do back squats, I think that you're putting yourself in a compromising position on those back squats just because of the fatigue level. Next is recovery between sessions. So you need to make sure you schedule sufficient recovery between strength and endurance sessions. The literature says between 6 and 24 hours between the two sessions to minimize interference effects, especially in athletes with advanced training status. So if you are an advanced athlete, you've been training for many, many years, you actually want to break them up. So typically it's going to be AM session, PM session, or you switch days. Monday is endurance, Tuesday is strength, so on and so forth. And that's what the science says. Now, training volume and intensity. Strength training, you want to incorporate heavy and moderate loads to improve 1 rep max without impairing endurance capacity. So the more you focus on strength, the less you have to worry about the interference effect. So one affecting the other. But if you're going for hypertrophy, it matters a little bit more. So hypertrophy being that muscle building. In endurance training, focus on moderate to high intensity aerobic work like VO2 max training to enhance your cardiovascular endurance while balancing fatigue. Exercise selection is also important. You want to prioritize multi-joint exercises like squats and deadlifts for strength sessions to target both upper body and lower body effectively. And then you want to include sport-specific exercises if you're training for endurance, like running economy to improve performance metrics like VO2 max and running efficiency. Next, monitor fatigue and adaptation. So track performance in both strength and endurance domains regularly to ensure neither is significantly impaired. And if you see that you're going back, you're making backwards progress in either strength or endurance, adjust your recovery times. Okay, that's the biggest thing that you can do is rest more, do less volume. Those are the two things that if you are not seeing progress, those are the changes that you need to make. Age and experience considerations. Now, if you train younger athletes or you have younger athletes, like I have young boys who I train, the literature is pretty awesome. There's a study that came out in 2022 and it says concurrent training can lead to significant improvements in both strength and endurance with minimal interference. And this is what I've seen in my boys. They do straight concurrent training with me. And I do this because they see such rapid results and they will for a long time. But this is in my opinion, the ideal way to train not only human beings, but younger athletes. Now, for older, more experienced athletes, you should be a little bit more cautious of the interference effect. I don't think that it's a huge deal for like the average garage gym athlete, but if you are, chasing a specific performance target, you will want to think about it. And then the last two, periodization is one. So make sure that the program is implementing periodization. So alternating periods of high volume and high intensity to ensure continuous progress and to reduce, your overall monotony of the programming. And consider taking breaks, just deload weeks or switching up the training every couple of weeks, every cycle or whatever. And then the last thing, this is very easy to avoid and leave out of the program. Make sure there's core strengthening exercises in the program because it's going to be very important in having a strong core for deadlifting, for back squat, for running, for everything. But sometimes you run short on time in concurrent training program. And the first thing to go for a lot of athletes is any kind of core training. So make sure that you do not forget that. Now, if you're taking all these considerations into account and you're looking through other hybrid athlete or concurrent training programs and you're like, okay, kind of know what I want to do. I kind of know my goals and I'm making sure the program I'm going to follow is going to check all these boxes. I can help you out a lot. And you can just go to garagegymathlete.com where we are hitting most everything on this checklist because we've been doing concurrent training for probably the longest in the industry. And it's basically all we do. So if you want to see what that looks like, go to garagegymathlete.com and sign up for a free trial. We would love to have you. For all of our athletes hitting concurrent training on a daily basis, we really appreciate it. Remember, if you don't kill comfort, comfort will kill you.